All right, so let's continue with the excess supply case. I'm trying to spend more time on it to explain it because from experience, students normally have problem with it. So let's draw our graph again. Let's keep reading the notes. You have all the notes you need for this chapter. You don't have to wait for the lectures. You can even read ahead. That was the reason why I gave everything out. All right. So let's say that we have our demand. Then we have our supply. So where they intersect as before, we will have our equilibrium price. This was 14,
Yeah. Okay.
and this was 1. So this is the price of the ice cream, and this is the quantity in short. So let's assume that we have a price. So for some reason, the price was pushed up above the equilibrium. So let's say that 2. We have said that the demand will be 7, and the supply will be 19. So we know that this is the quantity supply, which is greater than the quantity demanded at the price of 2. So the excess supply or the surplus there will be 19 minus 7. So here it will just be 19 minus 7. That will be the surplus in terms of quantity. So here, from here to here, we call it surplus. So this is important we understand that. So you can see that when the price, which is this, when price is greater than the equilibrium price. So the price now, this is 2, which is greater than the equilibrium price, which is 1. What will happen? Quantity supplied, we need to know this, will be greater than quantity demanded, just like here. So quantity supplied is 19 and quantity demanded is 7. So the difference there is the surplus. So when this happens, how do we come back to this? Because in the market, we will always gravitate towards the equilibrium. So you will see that because sellers want to sell this 19, but buyers want to buy only 7. So you will see that in the market, there will be surplus and sellers will compete among themselves. So because of that competition, it will drive the price back to the equilibrium. So you will see a situation whereby the competition will lead toward the market moving back to this equilibrium point. So because of the competition, because the sellers, they have 19, while buyers want to buy 7. So in the market, this will be leftovers. So sellers, they want to sell this, because they want to sell this surplus, they will reduce the price from 2 to 1. So this is how equilibrium will be restored in the market. Is there any question? Any question? Hello? Is there any question, or we move forward? If you don't respond now, I'll start calling names. Geneva Sekania Awanjai. Any question?
Yes. I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
It's fine, right?
Yes, we can move forward.
All right. So now we look at a situation where we have excess supply. That is when the price is above the equilibrium. But remember, even the prices here, we will gravitate towards equilibrium. So for the case of excess supply, because they couldn't sell this 12, then the suppliers or the sellers, they will reduce the price. And because all the competition among them will make them, force them to reduce the price from 2 to 1. So at the end of the day, the market will always gravitate. Whether we are operating, whether the price is here or here, if the price is above, then the market will gravitate towards here. If the price is down, you will see it in another case whereby the price will, because of the competition among sellers, the price will go up. So let's look at another case, shortage in the market. So first, let's draw our original demand and supply. So we have the price, then the quantity. So we have our demand curve, and then we have our supply curve. So where they intersect is where we have equilibrium price and 1 and 4. Let's say for some reason, the price fall to 0.5. So there was a reduction in price. So then we will have, where it touches, this is the supply. I think we have this. What was the supply when the price was 2? If you guys are taking notes, I think was
7.
This was 7, right?
Yeah.
Here was demand was how much?
Demand was price was 2. Demand was 7.
Sorry, this is 0.5. Cannot be 2. Impossible. So when the price was 50 bottles for ice cream, supply was 7 and demand was how much? You can go back. If you are taking the notes, the table was there. So none of you were taking the notes. How much?
I can be, but I took the last table, but I don't think.
All right, so let's just assume that was 17.
I took supply schedule and demand schedule. So the one you are talking about is different.
No. Those schedule, when price was 50 bottles, is the same schedule we are talking about. Look at that, when price was 50 bottles, how much was supplied and how much was demanded.
Okay, when price was 50 bottles, the demand was 16, I guess. 16.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was around that. So supply was how much?
Supply here was 9.
9, okay.
Yeah.
So this is 9 and this is 16. So you will see that, so you will see from here, so we have 9 as our quantity supplied when the price is 50 butut, and 16 as quantity demanded when the price is 50 butut. So this area, as you see, this area would be the shortage in the market. So what shortage means that the demand for ice cream is more than the supply. So the shortage there, we can calculate it as this, just like what we did for the excess supply. It's just the quantity that was demanded at that price minus the quantity that was supplied. And we know that the demand is 16, then 9, so the shortage would be 5. So because there is a shortage, buyers want to buy, but they don't have it. Always, as I said before, this equilibrium will always be maintained in the market. Even they are here, for some time, they will gravitate towards the equilibrium. The sellers and the buyers, sellers will be gravitating towards here as well as the buyers because of the competition in the market. So if the price is down below the equilibrium, so when the price is less than the equilibrium price, which is PE, so the price, the actual price is 50 bututs per ice cream, which is less than the equilibrium price, which is $1. What will happen is that quantity demanded will be greater than quantity supplied. And when this happens in the market, what will happen? We'll have a shortage. And when there is a shortage, then there will be a competition among buyers. So there will be a competition among buyers for the limited goods, or for the few goods. Because of this competition, then it will force the price to increase from 0.5, it will go towards $1. Then the equilibrium will restore. So it's either competition among buyers or competition among sellers that will restore the equilibrium in the market. So this is what we also need to understand. When we have equilibrium, we have excess supply or surplus, and we also have shortage in the market. But shortages and excess supply, they don't last long in the market because of that competition among buyers and sellers will force the price to the equilibrium point. Is there any question before we go further?
Mr. Ture, for me, I just need the recording because I came late in the class, but then when I came in, I'm trying to make some catch up. But then I'll still need the recording.
But the class attendance, people come very late. These audios are not reliable. Sometimes the audios are not clear. Coming early is important. Second, also, the note is there. Let's be reading the note. Whatever I'm explaining here is coming from that the notes I share with you, the material.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so the audio also will be shared, but let's take note as I'm explaining. Let's see this as a class. Let's take class. Sometimes light might go up and the audio will just cut. I cannot record it, or it cannot come back to recording. Right. Things might happen, something like that.
That's right.
But as long as it's available, I will share it. But let's not put all our hopes in it. We have other materials as well and other possibilities. All right, so let's continue and see how change in demand and supply will affect equilibrium price and quantity. So we have this, we looked at equilibrium, prices and quantity, we look at shortage, we look at surplus as well. So let's make some analysis how a shift in demand will affect in so let's look at this. We have this, then we have the price, and then we have quantity. Then we have, let's say, demand, and then we have supply. So where they intersect here, that is the equilibrium point. Let's assume that we have here 14. We have here 14, and the price was 1. So let's say that there is a shift. Remember, demand or supply can shift. So shift, if there is a shift in demand or supply curve, let's say demand, let's say shift in demand or supply curve, So if there is a shift in demand or supply curve, how this is going to affect the, let's say the equilibrium price, that PE mean equilibrium price, and how is it going to affect equilibrium quantity? And if there's a shift in supply curve, how is this going to affect equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? This is what we are going to look. So if demand curve shift, the shift can be either left or right.
All right.
Here also it could be left or right. So another situation, we will look at shift only in demand or in supply, but there can be a possibility where both demand and supply both shift. And if that's the case, how equilibrium price, that is this, how is it going to affect the equilibrium price or equilibrium quantity? So this is what we will be looking at. First, let's start with shift in demand curve. Is there any question that somebody wants to ask or comment or anything? Any question, comment?
You can go ahead, Mr. Ture.
Okay, so let's look at it. So we will look at how shift in demand curve. We will look at a left shift, right shift, how it will affect equilibrium price and quantity. From there, we'll also look at the shift in supply curve, increase or decrease in supply curve, how it will affect the equilibrium price and quantity. And the last one, we'll look at a combination of both demand and supply, both shifting. So let's focus first on demand. So let's say that there is an increase in demand. So how will this affect the equilibrium price? So we know that increase in demand is a shift to what?
Shift to the right.
Shift to the right. So this might be caused by what? It might be lower input price. You know that. It could be that. Remember, factors that cause, this is demand, so it's not supply. It could be caused by, let's say, the increase in the number of buyers. You understand? Why is my... So this could be caused by, not decrease, but one of the factors could be increase in the
buyers.
Number of buyers or other factors that positively affect demand. So we have those variables there. So it could be any factor that positively affect demand. So first, we could look, normally I like to have two graphs for before and after. So let's look at a before graph. Before there was an increase in demand, we have our price of ice cream and the quantity demanded. And then we have supply, then demand. So where they intersect
is the equilibrium.
So we have 14 here, and then we have 1 here. So the aftermath is what happens after increases in demand. So maybe we have increase in the number of ice cream buyers. Remember, we are looking at ice cream market. So when there is an increase in number of ice cream buyers, obviously this demand curve will shift here. But normally I like to have two graphs for sake of analysis. So let's say that we have still we draw the original one, which is, we have our demand, then we have our supply. So where they intersect, we have our equilibrium quantity, which is 14, and the price is 1. So let's assume that because there was increase in number of ice cream buyers, so demand will shift to the right. increase in demand or shift to the right. So we will have this shift here. So let's call this D1, then let's call this D2. So let's say that at here, let's say the price here is what? 1.5, because the demand will force the price up. Then the new equilibrium quantity, let's say it's 15. So you will see that if demand increases, so what it does, it will increase the equilibrium price. And it will also increase what? The equilibrium quantity. So the effect of increase in demand is what? It will lead to increase in prices or equilibrium price. It will lead to increase in price when demand increase. And it will also lead to what? Increase in quantity, which is equilibrium quantity. So we have seen that the price increased from 1 to 1.5, and the equilibrium quantity also increased from 14 to 5. So when they ask you the effect of increase in demand or shift in demand to the right, you could say that it will lead to what? Increase in both equilibrium price and quantity. Are we on the same page?
Yeah, can you come again?
All right.
If you are asked
So
what leads to the increase of equilibrium?
they can ask you what the effect. This is the effect of increase in demand. Or shift of demand to the right. Increase in demand. So what will happen? The equilibrium price, which is this, you know, this is the price axis. So equilibrium price, we have seen that it increased from what? From 1 to 1.5. We have seen, because first, initially, this was our equilibrium before the increase in demand. That is A, that is the equilibrium. So we have A here, but when an increase in demand, it moved the equilibrium to B. So we have seen that, okay, sellers or buyers want to buy more, it forces the price. So the competition was in the market, you know, because if the demand for a product is there in the market, it forces the price. And when price goes up, because of the increase in demand, the price goes up. And when price goes up, then sellers are happy to supply more. So this is the impact of increase in demand. So what about decrease in demand? How would it look like? Who can visualize it? So let's look at the second one, whereby we have decrease in demand. So the decrease in demand can be caused by factors that cause shift in demand, and we have talked about them. So decrease in demand. So when you talk about decrease in demand, that is shift to the left, not so.
Yes.
Please, let's try to read the notes. This is not enough. Let's read the notes and let's read keenly. So now, as I said, I always like to analyze in two phases. That is before the decrease in demand. Then we also have after. So we have this. We have our price here. We have our quantity here. So let's say this is our demand. And this is our supply. So where they intersect as before, we have our nice price here. And then we have a quantity 14. So let's call this equilibrium point A. This is before there was a decrease in demand. So for some reason, due to some factors that affect demand curve, we have a decrease in demand. We know these factors. You can read them. You have them in the books. So we need to read those notes. Now they will cement your understanding of the lecture. So we have this. Which is our demand curve. Then we have this supply. And where they intersect, we have this one. That's the original point on 14. So then something happened. Maybe the number of buyers, ice cream buyers decrease, or other factors that affect demand, they negatively affect it. So demand shift to the right. So the demand shift to the left. Well, there was a decrease in demand. So we have this. Something like this. So this we call it D1 and then D2. So where it meets with the supply, the new demand curve, where it meets with the old supply curve. So we have this. So you will see that this could be 12 and the price could be 0.4. So you will see that this is our price axis, this is quantity. So you will see that we were operating here, but because of decrease in demand, we got here. So we will see that a decrease in demand, the impact is that it will lead to what? Fall in the equilibrium price. We have seen it falls from 1 to 4. So, exactly. So the first impact is that fall in what? Equilibrium price. That's the first impact. And the second impact is what it's, because what we want to know about this decrease or increase in demand, how does it affect the prices and how does it affect the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? So we have seen here that it's reduced from 1 to 0.4. So first, the impact of decrease in demand is that equilibrium price will fall, as well as equilibrium quantity will also will fall. So these are the two impacts. So this decrease in demand, it doesn't come from the sky. It could be caused by maybe reducing the number of ice cream eaters, you understand, or factors. So those factors, we need to understand them, how they affect demand. So when we said that, okay, if I said that the number of ice cream eaters reduced, so you should know that it should decrease the demand curve. And decrease in demand curve means shift to the left. So something must trigger a decrease or increase in demand. So we have seen increase and decrease in demand and how it affects the equilibrium price and quantity. So what about the supply? Who want to volunteer and talk about how an increase in supply will affect the equilibrium price and quantity? So who wants to try how an increase in price will affect how an increase in supply will affect the equilibrium price and quantity? Who will want to do some analysis before we draw the graph?
A little decrease of increase in demand. Mr. Ture?
Yes.
I think if the prices are to increase in demand, it's going to affect.
Sorry, are you trying to answer my question? That what will happen? Like,
yes.
Okay, that is increase in supply.
Yes, I want to make a try. If at all,
okay,
the quantity is to increase in supply. Then it also means that there will be an increase in the equilibrium price or increase in the quantity of equilibrium. I cannot pronounce equilibrium. I don't know.
Equilibrium.
Yes.
Are you from Jara or Kiang?
No, I am a Farah, but
Oh, okay. So
She's from
equilibrium.
Badibu.
Okay. Oh, they like money. Okay, so equilibrium. Just call it E then. Let's just call it E.
yes.
Okay.
So
So
increase in supply is going
okay.
to apply. Increase in supply will still apply that when the
Okay. Okay.
E price decreases,
Okay.
we're going to have an increase in E price.
Yeah, equilibrium price will go down. It will go down obviously, but the quantity supplied, the quantity will increase, but the price will go down.
Yeah, that is what I want to say. The quantity is going to increase while
The price.
the price goes up.
No, the price should go down because the more, like, let's look at Serakunda. The more kanja they bring in, if a lot of sellers, if they increase more potatoes in the market, the price goes down.
Yeah.
Remember, like if there are more potatoes in the market by sellers, the price of potatoes goes down.
Okay.
So you will see that once the quantity increases, the price goes down. You understand?
Yeah.
So, but let's visualize it and see. It's a good try. You understand? So let's try to visualize it and see. So as I said always, I like to put it in two scenarios before and after before and after the increase or decrease. So let's have this as before there was an increase in supply. Please, let's read thoroughly that I share with you. It's one of the best undergraduate books. It's the same book that I used when I was doing my undergraduate. It's very, very useful, and it will serve you wherever you go. So this is after. So before the increase in supply or shift to the right of supply curve, this was the situation we had in the market, where we have the supply and then we have the demand. So at the vertical axis, we have the price, and whilst on the horizontal axis, we have the quantity. So where supply and demand intersect, we have our equilibrium point, which is A. So the price was 1, if you could remember, while the equilibrium quantity is
Was 14.
So this was the scenario we have, but due to some reasons, remember that we have factors that shift supply curve either to right or to the left. We discussed about this even today's class. This increase, it doesn't fall from the sky. It could be caused by maybe the input prices goes down. For example, the input price that affects the supply, the input price, that is the cost of production. So input prices, when they go down, it can shift the supply curve to the right. So when its input price goes down, its supply will increase. An increase in supply, we are talking about a rightward shift of supply curve. So now we looked at here, that is for this. So it's just like a picture before and after. Like we have this, the demand, then we have this as the supply. So where they intersect, that is the original position, which is A, our price 1, and 14 ice cream was consumed and supplied. But for some reasons, because input prices goes down, then supply increases, and increase in supply, this should be S, not D. And this is D. So here we call it the forced supply, and where they intersect is the A. But for some reason, the supply shifts to the right, which is an increase in supply. We have it here. So the new supply curve is this. So where it intersects with the old demand curve, it's here. So we move here. So this is what we will have. This could be 16. And this price could be 0.5. So you will see that the impact of increase in supply is what? The price goes down.
To 0.5.
Exactly. Okay. The equilibrium price goes down, but the equilibrium quantity increases. This is the equilibrium quantity, so it increases. So the impact here is like that equilibrium price will always increase when there's an increase in supply. This will increase. So we know that what will happen to our equilibrium price. So our equilibrium quantity, we represent it as QE, will what? Sorry, this should decrease rather.
Yeah.
So the equilibrium quantity then increases. So this is the impact. This is what you need to know when you are supplying. What happens to the equilibrium price as well as equilibrium quantity. So for the case of decrease in supply, what will happen? We are here. This will just go. It will shift backward. So there is no need for me to do that. I think we can all do that. So in fact, I will give that to you as an assignment. So this is your assignment, your homework. So this is your homework, you know, first, and then there will be two. First one is what? Decrease in supply. So you graph it to show what will happen to equilibrium price. So in fact, let me write it, make it more formal. So what will be an impact on equilibrium price and quantity. If there is if there is a, please, this is A, if there is a decrease in supply. So fifth one, let's write it. So what will so let's take this as D instead of N. What will be the impacts on
Equilibrium
price and quantity? If there let's say increasing.
Are you going to illustrate it?
Yeah, you have to, every time you have to illustrate it with graph.